Hello and welcome to our lesson on subtracting whole numbers. So subtraction is the process of finding the difference between two numbers. How far apart are two numbers, for instance, on a number line? Okay, so the process of finding the difference between two numbers we call subtraction. And to subtract whole numbers, much like adding whole numbers, we want to line up the digits in corresponding place values. And we will subtract those corresponding digits in those corresponding place values. And when we're adding and we overflow, we get a number that's a two-digit number larger than 9 in one of our place values, then we carry to the next place value. With subtraction, we're working in reverse. So if we can't subtract, if a number that we're trying to subtract is too large, then we end up having to borrow from the next place value over from the next digit. So instead of carrying, we might have to borrow. Okay? So let's say, for example, we had 2,236 and we wanted to subtract 124. We're going to line up our place values and then try just subtracting. And 6 minus the 4 is doable. I can take 4 from 6 and have 2 left over. And then the next place value here, 3 minus 2. Again, I can do that. I can take 2 from 3 and have 1 left. And the next place value, 2 minus 1, is possible. I can take 1 from 2 and be left with 1. And since there isn't anything underneath the 2 that is in the thousands place, we'll just bring that 2 down. It's like having a 0 to subtract from it. So our result would be 2,112. Okay, no borrowing necessary. Now if we're looking at something like, let's say 136 and we want to take away 17, this would be an example where we'd have to borrow. 6, or can't take 7 away from 6, it's not quite big enough. So we're going to take the 3 that's in the next place value, which really represents 30 because it's in the tens place. We're going to cross that out, make it a 2, and the 10 that we've taken away from that, because we've got 20 there now instead of 30, we're going to put over into the next column. So the 10 and the 6 means we're really looking at 16 in this column. So if I have 16, and I want to subtract out the 7, then I have 9 remaining in that column. Okay, now this is probably a little uglier than you're used to seeing it, so just want to make sure we're clear on what's happening. When I take 7 from 6, which isn't possible, and I have to borrow, I'm going to cross out the 3 here, make it a 2, and when I bring that 10 over, I'm just going to put a 1 in front of the 6 to see that 16 instead of saying, hey, yeah, that's really 10 plus the 6, because organizationally it gets a little tough to see it all. Okay, so we have 16 minus the 7, which will give us 9. In the next place value, we can subtract, sorry to keep my colors straight here, 2 minus the 1 is going to be 1, and there's nothing to subtract from the 1 that's in the hundreds place, so that 1 can come down. So our result here is 119. Okay, I've got another. We have 365, and we're going to try to subtract 89. So in the ones place, I can't take 9 from 5. Again, I would have to borrow. So I'm going to cross out the 6, make it a 5. So that's not 60 now, it's 50. The 10 is going to go into my ones place. So the 10 and the 5 makes 15 there. Now I can subtract. 15 minus the 9 is going to leave me 6. And now when I go back to my tens place, I can't take the 8 that's here from the 5 that's here, so I have to borrow again. So I'm going to borrow from the hundredths place, make that 200, and now I can bring the 1 over. And so the 15 that's there minus the 8 now can be done, and 15 minus the 8 leaves me 7. And there's 2 in the hundredths place, nothing to subtract from it, so that 2 can come down. So 200, what the heck, I'm sorry, I'm saying 276, but writing 7. So 276 is the result there. And just to clarify in this portion right here, when I borrow from the 2, which is 200, from the 3, and cross it out and say that it's 200, what I brought over was a 1 into this spot. Well, I brought over really 10 in that spot, and 10 tens is 100. Okay, so that we're clear, we're not losing anything anywhere. And speaking of losing, there we go. Okay, now the nice thing also is that you're not restricted on your use of the calculator, so all of this can be confirmed. while it is stuff you should be able to do without the calculator, that's sort of the purpose, is to brush up on our skills. We should absolutely verify our work. So first one looks good. 136 minus 17, 119, that looks good. And then, excuse me, 365 minus the 89, 276, and that looks good. Okay, so that's basic subtraction for you. We have a couple of subtraction properties of 0. And that is, or one of them is, that the difference between any number and itself results in a 0. The difference between any number and itself results in a 0. So for example here, if I find the difference between 11 and itself, which is 11, 11 minus 11 results in a 0. And that's going to be true for any number. If you subtract or find the difference between any number itself is 0, because between any number and itself, there is nothing. It is the number itself, okay? The other property is that the difference of any number and 0 is the number. In other words, subtracting 0 from a number won't change the number. So for instance here, if I have 15 and I take 0 away, the answer is going to be 15, because the difference between 0 and 15 is 15 units. Okay, not taking anything away, we still have the 15 left over. Okay, and then the number 6 here basically puts those two properties together. So 7 minus 7, a number minus itself, is going to be 0. And then 0 minus 0, well, there's no difference between those. It's just going to be 0. Okay, again, all can be confirmed with the calculator. Now let's look at a couple of applications where we put some words into play just so we understand what words are going to tell us. So we're looking for a difference or subtraction. 7, for instance, says, what is the difference between 15 and 8? So that means take the 15 and subtract the 8. So the word difference is implying subtraction. And the difference between 15 and 8 is 7. Again, we're looking for how far away. So think about a number line. If you had 8 here and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 here, what's the difference between those two? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. Okay? And number 8, another example here, says find a number that is 15 fewer than 23. So 15 fewer than means subtract 15. So if I take 23 and I want 15 fewer, let me subtract 15 out. Then that's going to be 23 minus 15 is 8. So 15 fewer than 23 is 8. Again, the difference here was 7. I'm going to think about your number line. So if you're at 23 and you want it to be 15 fewer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you would land at 8. Okay? That's what that's saying. Not that you need to be drawing it out every time, but just your understanding. Okay? Number 9 says the average compact car gets 42 miles per gallon of gas. If the average full-size car gets 22 miles per gallon of gas, how many more miles per gallon of gas does the average compact car get compared to the average full-size car? So what we want to do, how many more means find the difference. How many more means find the difference. So we have 42 miles per gallon. Miles per gallon is MPG if you wanted to abbreviate. Subtract out the 22 miles per gallon. And that's a difference of 20 miles per gallon. So 20 miles per gallon more. That's how much more the compact car gets than the full-size car on average. Okay? Another says here, number 10, the radius of Jupiter is 43,441 miles. It says the radius of Saturn is 7,257 miles less than the radius of Jupiter. So if it's 7,257 miles less, then to find the radius of Saturn, we have to subtract. So this is telling us to subtract 7,257. So we're going to take 43,441 miles. We're going to subtract 7,257 miles and see what we have left. So I can't take 7 from 1. I'm going to have to borrow. So I'm going to make that a 3. And now I have 11 on this side. And so 11 minus the 7 gives me 4. I can't take 5 from 3. So again, I'm going to borrow. Make this a 3. Make that a 13. So 13 minus the 5 can be done. 13 minus the 5 is going to leave me 8 here. 3 minus 2 in the hundreds place is going to be 1. And then I can't take 7 from the 3 that's in the thousands place, so I'm going to borrow again. And then now I could take 7 from 13, which is going to leave me 6. And then the 3 is the only digit that's in that 10,000s place, so that 3 can come down. And so we're looking at 36,184 miles. So 36,184 miles for the radius of Saturn. And this would be a good one to verify with the calculator just because there's a lot of borrowing happening there. So 43,441, if we took away the 7,000, just make sure I got that number right, 7,257, then there it is, 36,184 miles. Alrighty, last one, got a little bar graph here. It says the children in a first grade class were surveyed about their favorite pets, and the results are shown in the bar graph. So it looks like 5 students chose cats. Looks like 7 chose dogs. We have 3 that chose birds. 4 chose fish. Ooh, rabbits are popular. 9 chose rabbits. And then we have one student that chose a hamster. So it says how many students chose the rabbit as their favorite pet. So rabbit column went up to 9. 9 students. And then part B, it says how many fewer students chose fish as their favorite pet. So how many fewer means based on part A, how many fewer students chose fish than rabbits. So we're connecting this to part A. So then rabbits, just so we're clear on what we were subtracting from. So how many fewer chose fish? That means let's find the difference. We had 9 students that chose rabbits. If we subtract out the 4 students that chose fish, then we have a difference of 5 students. So 5 fewer students chose fish. This was, let me just organize this a little bit better. If we take, this was rabbits, and then we subtracted out fish, and got our answer. 5 fewer students chose fish. And there it is. Okay, so subtraction. Pretty straightforward once you've seen it and had a little practice, and obviously really great if you get a calculator to use there. So you've got a couple practice problems to work on, and as always, if you need some extra help, then feel free to reach out. All right, guys, take care.